Hello and welcome to TESOL Kuwait podcast. I am your host, Fatma Hassan, and I am more than thrilled to be interviewing Ms. Shelly Terrell. In today's episode, we will be discussing the role of technology and AI in English language teaching classrooms. Before we dive in, could you please, Ms. Shelly, introduce yourself and share a bit about your background and experience in the field of English language teaching and technology integration?
Okay, well, I've been a teacher since 1996. I really began, but since then, I've been to over 26 countries, traveled around the world. I've had 4 books published, which 2 of them currently are on Amazon about mobile technology. I also have one of 30 Goals for Teachers, and then also one about digital learning missions. And so in each of the countries I've traveled to, it's always been to help those teachers integrate technology. In some cases, like Croatia, Slovenia, I was able to the teacher said, okay, that's great. And then they were able to lend me their classrooms and say, show us. And so I've done a lot of that as well, walked into anywhere from, I always say from 2 years old, because I started teaching English learners in Germany at 2 years old, all the way to 90 years old I've taught. And so I've done a lot of technology integration around the world with language teachers.
Perfect. So you have experience with young learners and old learners as well, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And you've been integrating technology in both classrooms.
Yes. And even teenagers as well. So teens, adolescents, I know that's what a lot of teachers ask me for help with, how to motivate with technology and get them not to be distracted, but more engaged.
And especially when they're using their own phones,
Exactly.
That's also a form of technology, but they can, check their post or be a little bit distracted from the lessons, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move to the next question. Let's start with a general perspective. How do you see the role of technology and AI in English language teaching today? What are some of the key benefits that teachers can derive from their use?
So I believe it was just yesterday even I saw, or this past week, there was an article, I believe it was by The Guardian, and it was talking about how now people around the world are using AI as the preferred method to learn English. And so it's really kind of talking about that shift that's now come. And I think we saw this in 96 with the internet. It was just like this tool that really disrupted, English language teaching and also the education industry in general. Also, we saw this again with mobile devices. And so it just becomes where teachers now have to see that it's impacting their students, and we can't really ignore it. We have to see how can we engage and how can we deliver those best practices so our students are not just learning through a computer, because we know that a person is very, very valuable. So I believe that's the big role, is how we can facilitate and how we can show like that person, the teacher is very important, but also a teacher who knows how to help them navigate that tool, who can use that tool to save them time and also engage their learners. And also because it's going to impact it's already impacting businesses worldwide. So it's kind of a disservice if we don't teach students how to use that AI in very effective ways, ethical ways, and then ways to really just keep them learning after they leave our class.
Yeah. The other day, I had a very interesting conversation with my colleague. She was saying to me, Fatma, if you are, and herself, whenever, like, if we ever think about obtaining our PhDs, we should not obtain our PhDs in ELT or in TESOL or whatever it is, because it's one of the jobs that will be disappearing because of AI. Of course, I found that, like, I don't believe that our job will be disappearing, because at the end of the day, you really need to acquire a language. You need input, output, and interaction. And I know that AI, it can be interactive, but to an extent. What do you think about that? Will our jobs really disappear?
So when I started training back in 2004 in Germany, I had many teachers around the world. And that's why I started training, because I started doing free online webinars, because I saw a lot of teachers needed help with integrating technology. My background is, I have, my bachelor's and my minor was with programming, technology, but then my master's was in ELT. And so I went and I helped the teachers, because I'm just really great at it. Every institution I go to says, wow, you're just so great with technology. And I wanted to show them that. But every single place I would go, it didn't matter where in the world, I would get teachers who would say, we're going to get replaced. And then they would show me this little robot that was in Korea with a teacher face on it. And yes, you see those things. You're going to see AI teachers. But it hasn't changed, and if anything, the internet and technology has opened up more need for English language teachers. It's given them more opportunities, because now more people are growing and able to access the tools, able to afford. But what it does mean is that teachers will have to make that shift, and it's very difficult to learn something new. I get that and I understand, and there's so much we're already dealing with, so it can seem a little overpowering, but definitely, if anything, it's going to find more of the need for TESOL and language teachers, and those with the know-how of the technology and how, it can be integrated in powerful ways.
I see. Moving on to the teaching process itself, how can technology and AI be effectively integrated to enhance the various aspects of teaching, such as lesson delivery, classroom management, and student engagement?
So I'm now based in Texas, and I moved over here with my family. And in Texas, we have now this shift, and in a lot of states are doing this as well, where it's very data driven. And so you have to produce with data driven in the schools and education system. You have to deliver a lot of reports. This is kind of new for teachers. We've never had to have so much. Now we have to print, show. Over here, at least, we have to show our students, hey, this is the original score you made, and now this is the one you have to grow to, and and then it's in each, they categorize that: reading, writing, but reading text, reading, answering, so they have all of this data that students and teachers have to work with. It's also brought out a new lesson plan template. So for teachers, you can now use different AI tools. And I think that's the key is using the AI tool that is best for the job. So if you just do ChatGPT, which is the one that's the most popular, then you won't see the benefit. But if you see all these free AI tools, you can just type in, literally there's one. It's such an incredible tool. I'll go back to where you can find those tools. But when you put in the water cycle, 9-year-old, it's going to come up with a lesson plan that has objectives, your language objectives. It's going to have like your intro, your closing, your and it even gets you YouTube videos for each step of the teaching process, and it'll even give you a quizzes or a Kahoot that is associated with any topic you want to put. The other day I saw an AI tool that was just for leveled readers. So you can put in the text, and then you can put what kind of levels are inside inside your language teaching classroom, and it's going to produce that text with those kind of vocabulary and words just for that. That saves teachers so much time. So, instead of trying to differentiate this text that, you're either given to by the institution or that you really enjoy, and then you're trying to figure this out, you can actually spend that time figuring out, okay, how am I going to creatively deliver this lesson? Is it going to be through a pair work, a group work? Am I going to have a station? And then you have more time for that. So I really believe that if you use the AI tools to do something like fill out your lesson plan template, go and you tweak it, you say, ooh, I like that part, but I don't like that part, or I think it's missing this. And then you can go and you can, just focus on the presentation and things like that. It's very nice.
Amazing. Can you provide examples of how teachers can leverage technology and AI to create engaging and interactive materials for English language instruction?
Yes, so I think one of the great things is that there's even AI tools to produce art, to produce video, to produce presentations. And so a teacher, let's say that they're teaching online and they don't want to, I know with me, and I get asked to do this so much, is in my online courses to produce all these videos. And I get a little uncomfortable. I don't always like me in the video. But now you can use AI to come up with a video of your content. It can be delivered in any form. So let's say I'm teaching young learners. It can be, I can make a panda video that talks about, Asia and its environment. So there's different ways that you can make very, engaging content. It takes, minutes. Before it used to take so much time, even with very cool tools like Powtoon and all that. You still spend an hour, 6 if you have fun with the tool, like with the Voki, and it just takes so much time. But now you can really produce, and then you can focus on, okay, now I can have more tutoring hours available for my students, or you don't necessarily have to. It just takes literally 5 minutes or less in some cases once you learn how to use the tool, of course.
Of course, yes. Assessing students' language skills is an important aspect of teaching. How can technology and AI assist in assessing students' language proficiency and progress? Are there any specific tools or platforms that you would recommend?
So there are, as far as assessment goes, the assessment tools that I have worked with are not as good as, they're still being built and being built to that point to where they can really assess students in a good way. They're more about, the AI tools are, so you can go to ChatGPT, you can put a rubric, and then you can provide the answers. You can copy and paste like essay responses, more with the writing. And what it'll do is ChatGPT will, based on this rubric, give a score and even provide very specific feedback. I gave you a 3 out of 4 because this is what I liked about this part, and it'll do that for every single answer. It's pretty amazing. But that's just the writing portion. There are some tools that will help students to practice their pronunciation, and then there's chatbots that will help them grow as language learners. But as far as the assessment, it will not, the assessment tools are the ones that I have tried, are not very good at necessarily assessing the students. You still have to go back and you have to review. And so I think that next part of AI is building as far as like language, still the better way of assessing, especially at the beginning when you're trying to figure out their proficiency levels, it's much better right now than the AI provides.
So there is limitation for the assessing itself, but maybe in the future it will be improving, right?
Absolutely. I can totally see someone trying to use a tool to be able to assess. And I think the biggest part that they will struggle with, or any kind of tool, is the oral part, the speaking part.
Yeah.
And already you see struggles with it assessing writing. In fact, ChatGPT this past week took away their AI detection writing tool because it failed so many times and had so many problems, especially with language learners. It couldn't tell whether an AI bot wrote the paper or whether it was a student. And then many times a student did write it and not the AI.
So there's, maybe in the future something will, okay, while technology and AI, of course, no one can deny that, offer numerous advantages, some educators, including myself, honestly, expressed concerns about plagiarism and cheating. How can teachers strike a balance between utilizing these tools and ensuring academic integrity in student work?
I think that's one of the most important questions, and that's for any kind of technology, because at the beginning we saw, and I even saw, very few times, and mostly, lately I've worked with high school, middle school, and that's where you really see it, and even college is where you begin to see the cheating. And when you see it, like they would copy, it would be obvious they copy and pasted Wikipedia as a response to, an assignment. Exactly. So I think we have to go back and put ourselves in our students' shoes and kind of remember we were at that point, and whenever we thought about cheating. And you find that students will cheat because either A, they're overwhelmed, they have so many demands, so much work, and then the school system has taken a lot of their time and they just feel that struggle. The other part is if they don't feel supported, they feel like, I cannot complete this task, whether it be, because we didn't give them the supports as teachers, but, and sometimes it could be them. They failed to prepare. Oh, I didn't read that book. I didn't read that text. And then the other part is because they're just not engaged. They had a specific essay question to answer, maybe on, the deficit or something, and they thought, that kind of bores me. I'm not really interested in it. So I think in all those points, if we find out the reason why they are cheating and we see who is cheating, then we kind of know why. We can say, oh, that person is cheating because, when you're surprised and it's the A student, they're overwhelmed. How can they use, this is a good teachable moment. How can we help our students to use AI, address it at the beginning? And that's really important because the students are going to have to know how to use AI, not to get ahead and cheat in their businesses or their fields and professions. They're going to have to help to get it to assist them and help them. And if we can and say, okay, look, we're not going to start an essay by saying you have to write this essay. We're going to, one professor on Twitter, he actually had them use the AI and told them the parameters, everything, had them use the tool to write the essay. Then he said, go back and I want you to evaluate what your AI tool did, which ChatGPT did. And when the kids, the students, it was college age students, evaluated, they saw sources were wrong, quotes were wrong. And that really made their eyes pop. They thought, wow, it's not so accurate. And so I think those lessons are really important. That's how we can, if we get them to use the tool, we show them the limitations. Just like in this conversation where we talked about assessment, and we're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. The same thing with students. Exactly. They think that it can do everything. But then when we show them, no, it has its limitations, I think. And then we get them to talk about, there was a tweet by a college student, and it's that, the AI is getting paid and used to do all of this creative stuff, and I am left with work like McDonald's and things that AI can't do. This is not the future I wanted. And so I think things like that are really, it was a viral tweet, super powerful. A student we can use that as a writing prompt. What do you think he means by this? What does this tweet mean? Do you feel this way? Will you feel this way? Look up examples. And really the way that, letting them know, having those debates and discussions and case studies with AI and how it's impacted different fields and performers and artists, they can make the decisions and they can look and grow that moral compass.
Yeah. but it's hard to catch them, right? If they do actually use AI and cheat, and if you don't know the style of the student, like the writing style of the students, then there is like Turnitin.com would help. I read that now it's actually linked somehow, but I've never tried it with my own students, honestly. So,
well, right now the tools will get it wrong, so it's good you have it because it kind of would waste the time. But you're right. The key point you said there, and I like that a lot, is you said if you don't know the writing style, if you don't know your students, you're not going to be able to. And I think it's a teachable moment. You see them cheat, and if it's not something, more than likely, when I have caught a student cheating, I've always been surprised. It's never been like, oh, that person cheats all the time. It's always been a surprise to me. And then we talk about it. And I think that that's the good approach.
Yes. Okay, shifting our focus to students. So, students benefit. How and the students benefits. How do you perceive the impact of technology and AI on student engagement, motivation, and overall learning outcomes in the context of English language teaching?
I think, there are different AI tools to engage different learners. My daughter is 6 years old. My sister's daughter is 6 years old. And so recently we had them using the AI tool where they're drawing, they scanned it in the AI tool, and then it made a little performance and animated their drawing. And it was amazing. We really enjoyed it. So there are AI tools to engage very young learners where they can make their own chatbots like Voki. So Voki is a speaking tool with a character, but now they actually have AI tools where the student can draw, they can animate it, and they can, it can be part of their storytelling process. So very young learners love this a lot. But also, there's a lot of tools out there for older learners. Recently, I read about one of the first articles I ever read about when ChatGPT first came out, which was, I think, maybe even a year ago. An 11-year-old made a text-based game based on Harry Potter, and it was all with the AI tool. So students they can create so many amazing things. We can let them play with the tool, see how creative, but then also, and I think that's the most important part, is anytime you integrate technology, and this is with any technology lesson, is to go over the ethical implications of it. Oh, we had a great time, getting this AI tool to have an avatar like Rihanna, and then making her sing a Drake song, because that did, these things did happen. And that's a lot of fun, but now that we have fun with it, what is the actual, how do you think Rihanna feels that they can use her image to do that? Or how do you think Drake feels that they can? And then you will be surprised that a lot of the students really do see, like, what if you want to be a future artist, or you're going to be a future, how are you going to feel if they can or just in general, let's say your boss fires you, and now they can use your likeness and make you say anything. How are you going to feel about that AI technology there? And what can you do about it now? And it goes to that conversation about using it ethically, I think.
Perfect. In terms of individualization, how can technology and AI cater to the diverse needs and preferences of English language learners, providing personalized learning experiences? Could you share some examples of that?
Yes, so there was recently a tool that was mentioned, and it was and it's that leveled readers tool. So there are different AI tools that will actually you can put in whatever your material is, your content, and it will, if like the reading or the level of reading for your students, it will go and it can produce like sentence starters. It can produce things like sentence frames. You can it'll create quiz questions based on that content. And this is all within minutes, Also, it can produce, for example, different leveled reading styles to match that particular need. It can choose vocabulary words for you to present to the students with the definitions. And so all of that, I think, is really incredible and a great way so that we don't have to spend, I mean, that takes 10 hours and maybe more to be able to, we may like something as teachers and then not have the ability to differentiate, because it used to be in the past, you would get a group of beginners and they were beginners. And now it's mixed because we have so many language learners. You will get all mixed abilities. And then you do want to be able to get the higher levels to really have something challenging, and then the beginners to have something appropriate. So there are different AI tools that are able to do that.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can do with it, because for me, I've used it just as a searching tool, but now you're telling me all of these things, I can use them. Oh my God, it's just mind blowing. And I also have a 6-year-old and he is in an IB system, and I know his level, like his reading level, and I know the sight words. I mean, I taught him the sight words in a very boring way last year. Now I'm thinking I could have done like stories and scenarios using the sight words and teaching him the sight words in a very interesting way. It's just wasted a lot of time, and it was boring and dull, and he was sitting in there because I thought this is the only way you can teach sight words, So it's happening.
And I think that's a great example.
Yeah. Let's move to our next question. So we have concerns because, like any approach, technology and AI may present certain challenges. In your experience, what are some potential drawbacks or obstacles teachers might face when integrating technology and AI into their English language classrooms? How can these challenges be addressed effectively?
So I think the other point too is, and I've seen this all over the world, and just to know that the teachers are not alone. Your students are gonna, some of them, not all of them, and not nearly even a majority, are not AI pros. We seem to think like with technology, the younger generation, and yes, they may have heard of it, they may know different tools, but so we don't have to be afraid that we're not the main knowledge holders. We don't have to be experts in AI to use AI to teach with. When I first started teaching with it, I had middle schoolers this past year. I didn't know. I was like, ChatGPT, okay, let's try it. Let's see what happens. So don't be afraid to just use it, try it as a class. A lot of your students feel a relationship closer to you when they feel you try new things and they can do it with you, like a discovery.
I see.
And so I think
all of this together.
Exactly. And then they know, hey, I'm not using this just as a gimmick for entertainment and thrills in the class, so I look like the modern teacher. No, I'm doing this because when you get in your field, there are a lot of jobs AI has already taken. And so if you know AI and you can use it in a creative way, then that means you're going to last longer at your job. And I care about that. So I think that's the main thing, is to know you're not going to know everything, even after this interview. I mean, I keep up with it every day. I'm involved in LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. They're all free, and I'll let you know the people to follow for that. But it's really, you're going to learn new things, and just know that, there's going to be a lot of growing and things like that. And just to be very okay with not being an expert at this, because as the teacher, we're just not going to be. And some of our students will be, and some of them, and it's okay to not know everything about AI. So don't feel like, when we're teaching with it, if a student asks, oh, teacher, how do I do that, Rihanna Drake thing? And you're like, I don't know. But let's search it. That's a great thing for you to search up, and then maybe teach to the class, and then let's have that ethical discussion. So I think that's the most important thing, is it's okay to learn it along the way, and it's still okay to integrate it now, because it benefits your students in the future.
True. So we are arriving at our final question. So as we wrap up, could you please share a success story or a notable example where technology and AI significantly enhanced students' English language learning outcomes? What were the key factors contributing to that success?
I think so for me it's basically just me having the more time available to support the students. So for example, recently, and this is actually and just as an English teacher, just with the writing in general, a lot of our students struggle with, they do not, especially middle school, high school, I've noticed a lot of them were not taught MLA, APA, Chicago, whatever style it was, to look up research, to make sure that research is factual, and then also to be able to create this bibliography or the reference list and do in-text citation. And it's very boring for them. For many, many years, all levels, I have not been able to find that key lesson that will teach them to do this. And I hate seeing a great paper and they did not do that right. So one of the ways it really helped is academically, even getting those struggling writers. I did recently an essay with them about your favorite song. I want you to go ahead and put lyrics and answer in each paragraph these questions about that song and why it catered, why you chose it, why it's your favorite, where's a great place for your fellow students. And then I want you to cite a source that talks about the meaning behind it. And it was very hard for them to do that. So with the AI tool, they were able to, use that to be able to find resources, to be able to, figure out how to cite, and then to check it. We went back and checked the citation just to make sure. And that way they could also see the power of, hey, everything I read on the internet is not necessarily true, or, it misquoted or something. And so I think that was a very powerful way. It just helped their writing be better. I also was able to get that for those students. So I was able to come up with a whole essay frame with blanks for those who needed that extra support.
Amazing. Okay, Ms. Shelly Terrell, we reached the end of the episode. I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for your valuable time and support. Really, really thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And before I go, I do want to mention 3 very important resources for teachers. And they want to get into this and they say, where do I start? AIeducator.tools. That's where it's a database of all these free AI tools out there. So you can look it up and say lesson planning, and then you can test it out for free. So that would be a good one. Tom Barrett, he runs teacher free groups. He's amazing educator on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, everything. He's the inventor of Teach Me, and he has free groups, free newsletters for teachers. And then the other important person is Dan Fitz. And his Twitter handle is actually AI Educator X. And so he has free Facebook groups, everything, any platform you're on, probably even at Threads. And that's how you learn. And Nick Peachy is specifically one of the greatest ed tech language teachers in the world. So Nick Peachy is definitely someone to follow as well.
Thank you so much again. And I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and, of course, to share this episode with your friends and colleagues. And until next time.
Until next time.